Sound check 1, 2.
Can hear you loud and clear.
You too.
Okay, I'll call this budget meeting back to order for March 2021. Mr. Carter, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we had left off yesterday after the special projects, just before the community grants to groups. You'll notice we did hand out some pink sheets here today, and they've also been uploaded on the online agenda package as well. Just some minor changes to the capital projects to come forward today. Few updates on where the projects stand. So there's been no material changes to them, just some wording in the justifications to update maybe some plans for 2021 and some things that had occurred in 2020. So you can replace them now or as we approach them. So.
Thank you.
So moving along in the budget binder, it would take us to the tab 18, which is the summary for the grants to groups. So this is the overall community organizations as well as the big four cultural groups, just an overview of them. So from this summary sheet, you can see the overall increase in the grant budget. There was a number of decreases due to some savings some of the organizations had from COVID-19. But then there's also a couple increases, a small increase to the community groups and an increase with the museum that we'll go through each of those individually. So that's your summary page if there's no questions on that.
Any questions, councillors? Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
So that would take us into tab 19, which is the community organizations. So I can do a quick overview of the summary sheet, and then if you would like to look at one specifically, we could, or all of them individually. So looking at the summary sheet, the first line is our grant and aid program, which is $20,000. Historically, it's been well applied, but due to COVID-19, there weren't many events or fundraisers last year, so a little bit down last year, but that amount has been there for quite a number of years and been well applied over the years. Then there's the Peace Liard Arts Council. The request is the same as it was, or the request is the same as that it was approved for last year. They did have a virtual event last year that there was a handful of participants from Fort Nelson in there. Then would be the search and rescue. So historically their request has been for training. In 2020 their actuals were only $1,800, most likely due to COVID-19. Their request for this year is a small increase to $36,000 for the purpose of renting a storage unit. Then there is the Toad River Area Club. Their budget request has a small increase, which is a contribution towards the purchase of equipment, which is the mower will come in the capital section. But overall, the amount is similar to last year. And then there is the Toad River Hall maintenance in this budget, which consists no change from last year's budgeted amount. And the Northern Rockies Senior Society, which is for the seniors bus, which is the same amount that they requested last year. That would be the summary sheet for your community organization.
Are there any questions, councillors? Councillor Penny.
Just out of one of the, are we going to go through each one of these individually now, or we're looking to approve them all?
We're going to approve them all at once, unless councillors have any objection. If you want to pull some out, and because you want to talk about them, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll have one motion to do them all.
The only one that I would want to pull out would be search and rescue.
Okay. Councillor Roper, did you have one you wanted to pull out?
Yeah, if we're discussing, are we discussing the theater in this one? Yes?
No.
No, okay. No, I'm good then.
Okay. So, Councillor Penny, do you want to go ahead with your search and rescue one?
Yes, I've gone back and forth the last few days trying to get some more information on search and rescue because they're looking for, money to rent a bay basically for all their equipment to be housed in one place, which I think is a great idea. In speaking with, SARS and with the fire department, it sounds, how they're set up right now, their equipment is just spread out way too far, too many different places, and their reaction time is just way too slow. But, with speaking with staff, I think we may have a possibility to house them at the airport in one of the bays. So I would like to see us look into that, instead of them this money at this time.
Very well. Is there any other comments on that?
Sorry,
Councillor Gerwing?
Mayor. I would, fully support that for sure. So if we're looking at maybe just approve.
You're cutting out, Councilor Garvin.
So sorry. Yeah, so I fully support that 100%, what Councillor Penny said. And so just wondering how we want to do that. Do we want to just not approve anything right now and wait for more information? Or do we want to approve the original request, which I believe was $500?
Mr. Carter, go ahead.
That's correct. The original amount was 500. I do see from their actuals, from last year is 1,800, and I believe that's their administrative costs for, their accounting and such. So that might be an amount council wants to look at. There also is the grant and aid, program that if there was an amount outside that 500, they could apply for the grant and aid program as well, that council could look at that time. So it's really up to council what they would want to approve for an amount for the year.
Councillor Penny and then Councillor Roper.
How, would it be, a big problem if we just left that one off the table for right now until we actually got back to SARS and just?
Mr. Carter.
That amount could be removed. There is the grant and aid program that gives them up to $1,000. The proposal that they put in was just for storage, whereas historically it's been training. They do have actuals in there, but they have other sources of funding too.
We have till the end of this month to approve the budget, and perhaps it'd be more prudent to approve $3,000 for search and rescue for the interim here, that 1,800 plus the 500 that was originally requested. And it doesn't have to be the total amount, so.
So
Mr. Barry.
Mayor's answer, Councillor Penny's question. I mean, it'd be good to be able to have an amount in there currently, but it could be amended later if need be.
Okay.
If at the end of the whole process, if we make it through the end today, for example, if everything's kind of done and dusted and there's just one outstanding item which we could bring back something, it's entirely up to council.
Councillor Roper.
Councillor Penny, I'm just curious. Did you run this by search and rescue? Are they in favor of having their equipment at the airport, or did they have a specific location in mind for this ask? Just curious.
No, they didn't have any specific location in mind, at all. They had just looked around at several different possibilities. So they hadn't had a location nailed down, and in speaking with the fire department, it definitely seems like it would be a good fit if we can get them in out there, as we already have some fire equipment is stored out there currently, so it doesn't seem to inhibit our fire department, so I can't imagine it inhibiting search and rescue.
Thank you.
So, Councillor Penny, what is your pleasure here? Do you want to leave this off entirely, or do you want to approve $500, or how did you want to handle that?
I would prefer to go back to SARS and just make sure on their request, and could we even, with one item, can we do that email to approve that, or would we have to go through the trouble of scheduling another meeting for it?
It's a single item, so you could probably do that and have it ratified later. Another option also is council give direction. It could technically stay in the budget too as an option and only be approved to be dispersed if it was required after we did the work too. I mean, that's an option too that council have too, right? But yes, we could figure out how to circle back with council. It could be part of a regular meeting for that matter.
Councillor Andrews.
Agenda item.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna ask just that, Scott, is if we could do like a contingent, just let's approve it, it's $500. If we can work it out so we have a spot where they don't have to spend the money, that's awesome. And we can expect to see it as a carryover for next year's budget. I'm just thinking for the $500, it just gets everything cleaner and we can move on.
Councillor Gerwing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. I agree with Councillor Andrews. The original ask was for 500, not 500 plus the 1,800.
Okay.
And it seemed that met their needs, until they thought about the storage. So if we can alternately solve the storage problem without, without that additional cost, then that's the way I would like to see it go now.
Very well. So, Councillor Gerwing, did you want to make a motion then that we approve the green sheets here, accept an amendment to the search and rescue to be $500?
Yeah, I could make that motion.
Seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried, and we are on tab 20.
Okay, so tab 20 would move us into the cultural groups. So the first one is the grant to the golf course. So their operational budget is the same as last year. The bottom line is a bit higher with a net increase of 2%, with that being a slight increase for insurance. And also they drew out a small amount of their remaining capital reserve last year. So overall, their increase is $1,000.
Any other comments? Very well. I'll make a motion to approve the annual grants budget for the golf course.
Seconded.
Web seconder. Seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Tab 21. Carter.
Excuse me. I'd like to declare a conflict for the library budget, please.
Very well. Councillor Andrews, lead the discussion. Mr. Carter.
Okay, so the grant request from the library, overall the request has been reduced as a one-time measure due to some savings they had due to a closure last year. So their request is down 8% or $28,000 for this year.
Very well. Are there any comments, councillors? Can I get a motion, please, to approve the grant for the library, please?
I'll make
Moved
that
by
motion.
Councillor Soul, seconded by Councillor Gerwing. All those in favor? Carried. And can you ask Councillor Andrews to return, please? We are on tab 22.
Councillor Andrews, can you hear? Oh, there you are.
And I'd just like to clarify that conflict's due to my wife working for the library.
Thank you. Mr. Carter.
Tab 22 is the request from the museum. So the request is up from last year as they're proceeding with their capital project that they had explained in their meeting with council. Their capital request for 2021 is $817,000, $714,000 of that is coming from their reserve. So this would have the net grant for the year would be $200,000.
Any comments, councillors? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the annual grant budget for museum.
Moved.
Moved by Councillor Dolan, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried.
23 is our grant to the Phoenix Theatre.
I'm going to declare a conflict as well. I'm no longer under contract but I'm certainly biased. So I'm going to step out. Thank you.
Thank you. Note that Councillor Roper has left the meeting, won't participate in the discussions. Mr. Carter.
So the theater request, the budget request has decreased as well with some savings from the COVID closures. The request is for $178,500, which is $11,400 less than their last year's request. They're also not asking for any capital reserves at this time. Their projects, as detailed in their budget, they are using some of their other capital available to them. So that's the request that stands for council's review.
Any questions, councillors? Any comments? I'll ask for a motion then. Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Andrews. We approve the budget for the theatre. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We are on tab 4.
Moving to tab
Can you-
4. Oh, sorry.
Can you hear us, Councillor Roper, to return to the meeting? Thanks.
That would move us to tab 24, which is our summary of our capital projects by service area. So this will be covered as we move into them by Harvey and Luann in areas of capital and renewal. Total proposed projects for 2021 is 32 million. As I mentioned yesterday, 7.9 of that is from the tax levy, but does not include that IDCA contribution, so it's actually 2.9. Behind the summary sheet is your IDCA summary. So this is the IDCA that is submitted to the province every year, outlines which projects are part of that program. So those will be covered in the capital and renewal areas, but there's your summary if there's any pages.
Are there any questions on the summary? Hearing none, Mr. Carter, I'll get you to continue on tab 25.
Okay, so that'll move us into airport capital projects.
Ms. Watson.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So touched upon some of these last year, and they're both carryovers. So that's the obstacle limitation service, which is a carryover for clearing for the airport plans. So we're looking to just improve the site. So hopefully we can provide some internal manicuring on the grass and landscape. And then 0422 is an ACAP application for the rehabilitation of the main runway.
Are there any questions, sir, for Ms. Watson? Very well. I'll ask for a motion then. Did we approve the airport capital budget? Moved by Councillor Gerwing, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Tab 26.
The airport renewal projects. So almost every section will have a reserve contribution pink or ask for it, which is essentially a fixed amount every year that we ask for, less what we're using that year. So whatever remains of that fixed amount goes into the reserve account. So I don't think I need to speak to every single one of those, but if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Airport drainage is a carryover from last year. So this is just to clean up the work that took place around the terminal last year. There's some cement works and some finessing associated with that project. The airport wastewater rehabilitation is the abandonment, again, carryover from last year. So Wide Sky has 1 or 2 pipes remaining to plug off, as we can abandon those. The airport master plan, again, carryover from last year. We are near completion on the master plan. We've added two small scopes to the plan, including an economic strategy, as well as a building facilities assessment. And so this is just carryover from last year, and we should be wrapping up completion on the core portion, the business plan itself, very shortly. The I&I reduction program is something at the airport that we've never never really addressed very well or formally. I&I is a regulatory requirement that we monitor it specific to our permits to monitor unintentional sanitary waters that enter the system. So this ask is just to start to monitor those levels because they could potentially impact the capacity of that system. So if we can manage that properly moving forward, we might increase the life.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Unintentional wastewater coming into our system?
Rain.
Rain. Rain going into the lagoon, is that correct?
More into your collection system. So if rain gets into the system, it increases the amount of flow that we're managing and the treatment that we have to manage. Then, so it impacts our permit and also reduces our capacity of the system.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Andrews?
I was just going to comment, we have that issue currently in the town, don't we? And that's why we've been doing all the sewer upgrades, is to help with that.
Yes, and you're going to see another ask specific to the municipal system.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and airport pump renewal. So this ask is to replace pumps, a redundant pump at the airport lift station, as well as some pumps that have gone beyond their useful life at the airport terminal.
Are there any questions or comments about the airport renewal projects? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. Mr. Carter, tab 27.
Tab 27 is our building and facilities capital project, so I believe this might be Luann and Harvey on this one.
Good afternoon, everyone. The first project is a request that the Curling Association had made to me last year for some storage for some new ice equipment they had bought, resurfacers specifically. If you go in on the curling surface, they now have 2 resurfacers and that big box for all their rocks. Their amount of walking surface has been reduced, which for one could affect people moving around in that area. And they were looking for another space so that they could store their ice resurfacers off of the playing surface area. So that was a request that came from the Curling Association. And then
Any questions for Mr. Woodland on that?
Mayor?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Gerwing.
So it says $100,000 coming from a grant to cover that, correct?
Councillor Gerwing, it's a $100,000 project. We would seek whatever grant funding we would get before we would proceed with the project. However much money we could possibly get from funding opportunities from outside sources, we would seek before we would actually complete this project. And that conversation was also had with the Curling Association, knowing the project was grant dependent.
So I'm sorry if I'm not understanding completely. You're asking us to approve $100,000, but the project isn't moving ahead unless there is grants up to some amount, or to cover the whole cost, or?
That is correct.
So it's a request that came through, and we are just requesting, so if there was any funds spent, the project itself would be grant dependent. So that's the conversation that we've had with the curling club too. So if a grant opportunity, we're going to seek grant opportunities for the project, and we would still need council approval to have it in the budget and to have the resolution to approve the project, like any other project similar to ACAP funding, for example. So it's in the budget, but it's just grant dependent at this point. So it's no tax levy required at this point.
Any other questions? Very well, I'll call the question for the building and facilities capital projects. Moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried.
Mayor, do you want us to continue to go in this way with just to confirm, are you okay with this going to the project 6-way, or would you like to do it a different, because we didn't confirm that at the very beginning, so.
I think we're doing well here, and if there is an issue with an individual project, we can always pull them out, so.
Perfect.
And I don't see that, council's got much problem with this. I hope everybody is, in agreement that this is a good way to travel. Good, all right. Mr. Carter, tab 28.
Okay, so that is building and facilities renewal projects.
You're muted.
Ms. Watson, you're muted.
You're
You
lucky.
could start again.
The first one is a reserve contribution, so I doubt there's any too much concerns about that particular request. And the next one is the town hall municipal facility, so I'll let Scott talk to that one.
Yeah, so this one here, obviously, there's lots of discussion about the town hall piece. We actually had a presentation scheduled for this Monday past, but it got bumped after the mayor had requested that meeting Monday evening. So we're just working on looking at confirming some scheduling now with council, and the consultant McQuaig will be doing a presentation with the staff that were involved in terms of where we are with the town hall complex. So it's not just town hall, but the whole complex itself, and some various options. And in the meantime, in the background, we are still continuing with some investigations in terms of requests, or I should say options, or suggestions that were in the report that was provided to us as part of that program. So we'll have some discussion with council here in the coming weeks with the presentations specific to that. And there's still some funds that we would look at expending as part of the investigations and part of that whole report. So, which grant.
Okay, technology and communications renewal.
I can speak to that one because I just realized Rob's not here. So I said, you don't have to stand here all today. We'll take a chance and see if we make it through it, and then we got something you could speak to. Basically, it's just a renewal program that we've got to put together now to deal with all the various technology requirements, if it's from a hardware perspective. So printers, laptops, or not fax machines, but printers, photocopiers, servers, et cetera, anything to do with that. So we actually have a reserve fund available to replace them when they're at their end of life.
Very well. I don't know that we need to go through these individually. Is there anything here that sticks out that somebody would like some discussion on? Councillor Andrews?
Just on the Simpson Trail residence renewal, I thought we were putting an offer in to sell that house, or were we not? Did I just dream that?
No, there hasn't been a plan to sell the house, but you'll note that this was also in last year's budget. So what happened was we had gathered quotes and established a budget last year, and then when we started to undertake the work, it turned out that the contractor was not available to do the part of the project, so we've had to requote it and replan. It's all the exterior painting and some fascia replacements. So it's a big property, as we all know, to maintain, and we're just trying to get it to a standard that will carry us through for a few more years. So,
any other questions? Any comments on the building and facilities renewal projects? In total? Oh, very well. I'll ask for a motion then that we approve the building and facilities renewal projects. Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Tab 29, land improvement and capital projects.
So again, carryovers from last year. So the composting and waste diversion is our vermicomposting pad. We have some equipment left to obtain, and that's associated with the grant fund. The airport perimeter fence is nearing completion, and I'm hearing some positive feedback about that fence. And skipping, I don't know if I can just skip on to the renewal projects, but that's a reserve contribution. So probably kill two cats
Okay.
with one stone.
Thank you. And I did hear a lot of comments that it was good that we did have that airport fencing and it was able to be sourced locally. That's great news. Councillor Gerwing?
So just want to speak to the composting waste diversion. Talking about hoping for a more detailed plan and that, you know, in the light of COVID that we have, and create some workarounds so that the project doesn't get stalled completely for another year. So just, yeah, would like to make that. Thank you.
And I think we'll have some opportunities, Councillor Gerwing. It's, as we chatted yesterday, it's not fully functional there yet, but it will be. And with the addition of the chipper and the ability to screen out the trommel for the worms, it makes the operational side a lot more efficient down there. So we'll be able to really focus in on diverting, hitting it hard in the community to divert that waste.
Councillor Gerwing?
Yeah, so just to continue that, Mr. Berry, thank you. After our discussions yesterday, I went home and thought about it, and because this project involves across different areas of responsibilities, I wonder if it'd be a good idea to have one liaison position between all of the departments that can act as the champion for that project.
No, we will for sure. Yeah. Terry took the lead originally, and when Terry left, David's still navigating through the processes, so we're still working through that, but the intent would be for sure, yeah.
Very well. If there's no further discussion, I'll ask for a motion that we approve the land improvement capital projects. Moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Dolan. All those in favor? Carried. And Mr. Watson, you've already spoken to the renewal project, so I'll just ask for any comment on that. And if there is none, I'll ask for a motion. Moved by Councillor Dolan, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Mr. Carter, we're on to tab 31.
That would move us to machinery and equipment renewal. There's 3 projects that I think Luann can speak to those.
Yes, absolutely can. So the mobile equipment is the fire vehicles, which I'm sure council's up to date on that one. The mobile equipment for the plow truck. So the time has come where we have a few plow trucks that are become unreliable due to age and condition. So we're looking to replace unit 28, which is 21 years old, has over 140,000 kilometers on it and over 12,000 hours. So it's time so that we can continue to have a reliable fleet. The second request that we have is the equipment purchaser for the moor for the Toad River community. So the Toad River residents do a lot to maintain that community and could sure use a mower to help with the boulevards and the cemetery, and we're looking to support that request.
Councillor Andrews.
Neither of these trucks is the tsunami trucks, is it?
No.
Then I'll make a motion to approve.
Although that's next up.
20.
Just saying.
It is a tsunami truck, Lou.
I thought it was 50. Yeah.
28 is a tsunami truck, but one thing that we'll probably might bring back to council is we're not going to receive anything for that old gal. And unless it costs us money to repair it, right now it's just a potential reliability issue. But it's still a good little workhorse, especially in the summer if we're hauling gravel. If we're doing snow removal with the snow blower, for example, it reduces hiring a contract truck because we only have the 2 that we can use currently. So we might suggest that we don't dispose of it unless it costs us money. Yes, it is the tsunami truck.
My apologies, I did think it was 50. But we're still looking to keep the tsunami, Kyle.
So it'll be outfitted for the spring spray off then? We can look forward to seeing it this spring?
Yeah, the the lead time it takes to order a plow truck, we will never get it replaced. We're hoping we'll get a plow truck by the fall if we make an order. After this today, if Luann makes a call and pulls the trigger, we'll be lucky with the first snowflake falls in the fall to get an outfitted plow truck. So yes, the tsunami truck will still be around.
It's December.
And maybe if council, I mean, to save us some time, I mean, if council's okay, maybe if unless they want time to consider it, of course, if there's no objections regarding maintaining the tsunami truck and keeping this truck in the fleet until we dispose it because of expenses, I'll just ask if council's okay with passing a resolution to allow that now.
Yeah, I would make that.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Gerwing. All those in favor? Carried. And Councillor Andrews, you made a motion in the machinery and equipment renewal. I'm not sure if I got a seconder for that one. Seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. And we are on tab 32. Mr. Carter.
That would have the sewer capital project. There's 2 projects there.
So these, so the sewer outfall replacement, we are done technically with the sewer outfall. It is installed and commissioned and working well. The carryover that we're asking for is specific to the registration to the municipal wastewater regulation, which we're required to do as a result of all the upgrades we did to the wastewater treatment plant over the last 5 years. So this is just carryover funds from the outfall in order to wrap up that whole big picture. The 52nd Avenue East cul-de-sac sewer is a request to install a step system in a residential yard that will become a part of our municipal facilities. Essentially looking to solve a municipal infrastructure issue wherein there's some homes that can't get the proper grade into a manhole. So this is the most efficient means to correct the problem that was presented before us.
Any comments, councillors? Councillor Andrews.
Just a question with the sewer outfall. How are the diffusers been running? Have we had any issues with them?
We've had no issues, and we will be looking to, in lower flows, looking to test out the sensors because there's built-in sensors.
Any other questions? Motion, please, to approve the sewer capital projects. Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Tab 33.
So sewer renewals, we're looking at, again, a reserve contribution. CCTV for sanitary sewer is just carryover from last year. So we're going to use those funds. And the additional work that we're looking for in CCTV is specific to the trunk main. The municipal I&I program, we are looking to establish and formalize a program that includes annual reporting, which is a legal requirement to the ministry. So these funds are established, are requested to establish a program that's formal and also to repair our existing equipment and potentially require additional equipment.
Any questions, councillors? Motion, please, to approve the sewer renewal projects. Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. Tab 34, Mr. Carter. Tab 35, Mr. Carter.
Tab 35 is our stormwater renewal project.
So there is absolutely, I'm not sure if you need me to review these based on the feel I'm getting. They're pretty much carryover and reserve contributions. Does anybody have any specific questions?
Councillors? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion that we approve the stormwater renewal project. Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Tab 36, transportation capital projects.
So streetlight renewal, this should end the enhancement program for the streetlights. So we're still looking at a few locations to install better illumination. Currently, BC Hydro is looking to change out some of the lights around town with LEDs or more illumination. So we're expecting a confirmation of the list of lights that they're going to change out in May, and then work to be commencing on that in around November. So that's the update I have on the BC Hydro initiative.
Any questions? Councillor Gerwing.
So in our council information package that was just sent out, there was a letter from the city of Prince George disputing the extra charges that BC Hydro is charging to communities to change out these lights. So I'll bring it up at our next meeting too. We might want to piggyback onto their letter, but I was just wondering if, Luann, you had any information on what that cost could actually mean for the municipality.
No, but I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion then. Moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Dolan, that we approve the transportation capital projects budget. All those in favor? Carried. Transportation renewal projects. Ms. Watson.
So these are your typical asks. So we're looking at 500,000 for our rural roads program, which is a standard ask. The asphalt program is a little outside the ordinary this year, simply because we were unable to get a competitive bid last year for our roadworks. So we have more work this year to provide for last year's schedule and this year's schedule. And we're hoping to get much more competition in on that. So we're asking for 1.7. And the concrete sidewalk repair is a $200,000 ask just for repair and installation of cement works associated with the roads and high hazard pedestrian issues.
Can you tell us which roads are scheduled for pavement this year?
Sure can.
Are they the ones highlighted in blue?
Correct. And the little yellow fleck is 51st. Assuming we have competitive bids, we will be including that work.
Very well. Can I get a motion then to approve the transportation renewal projects if there's no questions? Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Souls. All those in favor? Carried. Tab number 38, water capital projects.
So Toad River Community Hall, we have a report and we're pretty much ready to come to council when it was identified that we can take advantage of some drilling works that occurred recently. So we'll be coming to council with a more fulsome report. This ask is specific to complete that original study. The original study identified that the community well is in need of rehabilitation and or drill a new well, which is cheaper. So we took advantage of an opportunity of drillers being up there at significantly lower prices than reasonably anticipated. So we've drilled a new well, which resulted in an increased flow and better quality. So we have to look a little closer at those details, and then we'll be back to council.
And the WTP efficiency treatment and capacity improvements?
So this is the, sorry, there's a few water ones in here. So this is the DAF. So essentially we are complete with the DAF upgrades, and these funds are to upgrade the system to an industrial level to provide life and longevity and less maintenance issues that we were experiencing. That's last of the capital.
Mr. Barry.
I'd just like to add with this one here. This is a really exciting one for the community because we go back years ago when we were, at the time the community was growing. When I was in Lou's role back in the day, we were trying to figure out what options we had to produce more water because we were at times, go back to like summer of 13, I think it was, we were maxed out every single day with producing water 24 hours a day. We never had any room whatsoever. And at that time, the discussions were to expand the physical plant itself. This dissolved air flotation program that has been implemented at the treatment plant is intended to increase water quality, but the real neat thing with it is it's really increased the efficiency of the plant. We've actually increased the flow through to the plant. So we actually have the ability to, we've only changed over two trains out of the 4, but we've actually have the 2 old trains shut down right now and the second DAF train. So we're actually producing water right now with just 1 train. And come summer, when we have an increase of increased demand, possibly have to jumpstart the second train. But the reality is that significant cost savings with moving parts, repairs. I mean, there's a little bit more moving parts with this existing system, but not having to physically expand the plant and to push more water through with less required trains. It's a pretty good news story, so it worked out quite well for the organization.
Good. Can I get a motion then to approve the water? I'm sorry, Councillor Andrews.
Just a point of interest question. We were supposed to get, I think it was 2 or 3 times the flow. Do we know what we're getting now?
Twice the flow.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further questions, I'll ask for a motion to accept the water capital projects. Moved by Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Mr. Carter, we're on tab 39. Mr. Watson, water renewal projects.
So these are carryovers from last year and reserve contributions, really with the exception of the water quality improvements. So this one's a little different. So we have ongoing studies associated with the murky water that the community's been experiencing for many years. So we actually had a better year this year, but ongoing investigations continue. We did 2 pilots last year specific to the water quality, which is the use of pyrolusite filter media, specifically designed to treat the manganese, and then potassium permanganate, which is a chemical also designed to treat the manganese. So right now we're just going through that to determine what the impacts are and what the best course of action would be. So that's the stage we're at with those pilot studies. The bulk of this ask is associated with the installation of raising the intakes in the raw water cells. So we plan to permanently install a raised intake in cell 1, which will raise up the level at which we're taking water into the plant, bypassing all that icky stuff that settles to the bottom of the reservoir.
Thank you.
That's that one.
Icky stuff?
Icky stuff, that's the technical term.
Completely scientific. When we get icky, we'll ask Harold that. I'm sure he'll confirm.
Councillor Andrews, any comments on the scientific icky stuff?
I'm just curious, what does that do for storage wise? If we're now sucking from higher up, are we losing storage? And then is it just more icky stuff we got to shovel out later?
It's more icky stuff we'll have to shovel out later, but that is a question that we looked at and why we're not doing the other 2. So it definitely does raise your ability because you're going to lose, if you raise it by this much, you're going to lose that much water capacity. So, but it's definitely the dirtier, more organic laden water at the bottom. So it is better quality coming in. So we're going to take a look at just a fixed intake and study that and see if it meets our needs.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? In that case, I'll ask for a motion for the water renewal projects. Moved by Councillor Gerwing, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Agreed. We are on tab 40. 41, 42, we have nothing.
So that would take us through the budget binder. I guess if council wished, we could circle back on the discussion about the overall levy and the application of the stabilization fund. So I'm correct me if I'm wrong, currently we have the search and rescue amount coming off the levy, so levy would be sitting at about 20,914,000, right around that amount, with 991,000 currently built into the budget as being applied from that stabilization fund.
If you add the 35,000 from the search and rescue to what the reduction of the levy would be compared to last year, we're sitting at about we were at $296,000 on the last year's levy, and now we're about $331 on our last year's levy.
So what I'm proposing is that we are $100,000 under last year's levy, so that the balance of that would go back into that reserve fund. Are there any comments, councillors? Very well. Oh, Councillor Gerwing.
So what your goal is to have the tax levy be the same as last year.
About $100,000 less.
You still want it to be $100,000, yeah.
And the balance of that to go into the reserve fund.
Approximately $231,000.
So, with your suggestion, Mr. Mayor, that would put the tax levy at $21,145,000. So the funds applied from that reserve would be roughly $350,000. Overall, including the revenue reduction, would be about $759,000. So your reserve fund would be sitting at roughly $1.5 million would be in that stabilization fund.
Okay. Are there any comments on this? Very well. Then I'll make the motion that we do that. Can I get a seconder, please?
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Is there any further business?
Right, Jay, you're good with the resolution, so
We're good? I do, actually. Is there any comments from the public? None. I believe we had one written comment from the public, but I don't have that in front of me. If you have it, that would be good. I think it would be good to read it into the record, just so that we are getting some public comment on our budget.
So did we wrap up that budget in under 3 hours?
I don't know if it's record time or not.
I think we can thank how well the budget's put together and how easily it's laid out for us to be able to do this, for sure. It's pretty amazing.
This process is awesome. I love it.
So the only comment we've got on the budget is one to Mayor and Council. This letter is in response to the 2021 budget article in the March 8th, 2021 from the Bear Pit newsletter. I would like to congratulate Council for the extremely polished and thorough draft budget document and presentation, including the attempt to engage our community with a Zoom budget discussion. Regrettably, I was unable to participate in the Zoom meeting due to a scheduling conflict, but the concept deserves accolades, and I am hopeful that Council repeats this effort in future years. I've been involved in many budget presentations and budget reviews over the years, and the NRM's 2021 budget document is clearly among the very best I've ever seen for clarity and ease of understanding. Council also deserves commendation for maintaining the NRM's public service while keeping property taxes affordable in these very challenging economic times. Thank you for providing this opportunity for comment. Sincerely, Randy McLean. So, if there's no further comments from the public, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the budget meeting. Moved by Councillor Dolan, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Great work, guys.